Hey everyone, it's Jenny Thielen, and I'm going to be explaining my Blended Learning LMS. Before I can show you my LMS, I need to explain what model I decided to choose. And as you can see, I decided to do station rotations. I teach second grade, and so I thought I would do math with my rotations. So I would have 4 rotations. Within each rotation, the students would be doing a different activity. The students would start at a different rotation, and then they would go and rotate through whenever I tell them it's time to switch. However I decide those rotations, it would stay the same. That way the students know, each day where they are supposed to rotate. I wouldn't switch it up on them because that would be confusing for my little second graders. So, if they're starting with me that day, they will always know then the next time they go here to the practice activity, and then they go here. That way it's very clear as to where they're supposed to be rotating each day. So now I'm going to explain a little bit more what the different stations are. One of the stations is the teacher station, and that's going to be me working with a small group, usually at my back kitting table. And that's when I will be, either introducing a skill or we're practicing the same skill from before or whatever it is. And with math, let's say, it's adding and subtracting 2- and 3-digit numbers. So I would be using manipulatives. I'd be using whatever tools I needed to help model for them how to solve the problem, and then they would be going through and solving the problems with me. This station gives me a chance to check in, see how well they're doing solving the problems, and, answer any questions that they might have. That way I can see, if they're really struggling, if they're getting it faster than I had thought, it's a good way for me to get that interaction with them before they're off doing different stations on their own. Another station is the partner practice station. So in this one, this will give them the chance to collaborate with their peers, and they would be practicing the same skill that I was going over with them in the teacher station. So if we're doing that, adding and subtracting 2-digit numbers or 3-digit numbers, that's what they would be doing when they're playing with a partner. Gives them a little bit more chance to continue that skill. Then they could either play a game or they're solving problems together, but that gives them a chance to work together, and then they can also ask each other questions in case they are still struggling too and they need that extra help. They have each other to practice those skills. Another station is the independent practice station, which that was when they will be working at their desk. They each have a math journal that has problems in it of the skills that we have been doing, so they will already know what page number they're supposed to go to. I'll have it written on the board. They'll all open it up and they'll start to solve the problems on their own time. The great thing about this time is that they can work at their own pace. They don't feel flustered that they have to get so many problems done in the amount of time, that they can always pick it up the next day if they didn't get all the problems done. And then I always check their journals. That way I can see how well they're doing, if they're, answering questions, if they're making mistakes, those kinds of things, and I can give them feedback while they're doing that station too. And then the last station would be the tech time station, which this is the station where they'll be working online. And so with this one, this group of students would be doing, this station is going to be more of a review of a skill that they have done before. Or it's going to be maybe if it's a skill that I notice that group is really struggling with. Let's say that they still are having a hard time with fluency or combinations of 10. That group would be working on that. So it's not necessarily the skill that we did that day, whatever I was teaching them in the teacher rotation, but more of a review and that extra practice that they needed online, just so that way they don't forget the skill, and that way they can just continue developing those skills and get better at that, so that way they are being successful in other areas too, besides just what we had practiced in the teacher rotation. Okay, a couple last little questions I'm going to answer again before I show you my LMS is the first one, will I do rotations every day? And the answer to that would be no, mainly because I know that some of my lessons are going to take longer than expected, or I need to spend more time explaining or modeling how to do something, and I just don't have enough time to do that in the rotation, so I know that I will not do it that day. Or if I notice that my students are, playing around during their practice time, or they are not really getting much done on their independent journals, or they are messing around online, I'm going to know that they aren't doing those rotations very well, and so then we aren't going to do them. And of course we're going to have to go back through and practice how to rotate, and we'll have to do whole group stuff. But hopefully my goal is to be doing these rotations at least 2 to 3 times a week. That way they have time to be on the computers, they get to do different activities, because I want them to be successful and have a good time doing it. But it all just kind of depends on the day and how it's looking, and if my group of kiddos is doing a good job with the rotations. The rotations will only last about 15 minutes because I only have about an hour for math, and so when I break it down, it's not very much time. That time goes very quickly. So again, it's going to take a lot of time modeling for the kids, and we're all going to have to practice getting on the computers and rotating, and that way they know what to take with them to each rotation, so that way we don't waste time figuring that out. So after we practice and practice and practice, then they can get on and they can do it on their own, and then once they have done it a few times, they will get faster. That way they do get most of that 15 minutes in that whatever rotation that they're in. And then how many computers are needed? I won't need a full set of computers for my rotations. I will never need a full set because not all 20 or so of my kids won't be on the computer at the same time. So if there are only about 5 to 6 students in each rotation, that means that I will only need 5 to 6 computers because each of them will have their own computer. So again, you don't need a full set of computers because not everyone is on at the exact same time. You will only need the amount of who's in that group. So for me, I would need about 6 computers. Okay, here is my LMS. I decided to use Edmodo to create my online learning class. So I am looking at it from a student's perspective. So when the student logs in, this is what it's going to look like. They're going to see their class at the top, Thielen's Blended Learning. Okay, and then if they scroll down, here's just a quick little announcement that I have where it says, hey class, remember to click on folders on the left side. And then I have find your group and get started, just a reminder of the things that they can use. And then I did include their groups right here. The students should already know, but there's a good chance, my kiddos forgot once they get on the computers and they log in and they're like, what group am I in? They don't remember. So they can click on this and they can find their name and they can see what group they're in. And they can always leave it open in case they're going to forget again, because sometimes they're little memories, but they will have it right there for them. So then they're going to go back and they're going to find the folders right here over on the left side. Once they find that, then they're going to see all the groups. And again, that's where the groups comes in here. They're going to find which group that they're in. So let's say I'm in group C. I'm going to open up my group, and then I have different activities in here for me to do. The thing I don't like about Edmodo so much is that it rearranges the order of these, which isn't necessarily that big of a deal because I know my kiddos are going to end up clicking on things and it's going to put them in different orders anyways. Just kind of would have been nice at the beginning, but it's ultimately not that big of a deal because your students will learn very quickly what they're supposed to do first. And again, in case my group forgot, I listed the instructions. So they're going to click on instructions and it's going to tell them which activity they're going to do first. So the first thing they're going to do is they're going to watch the review video. So these are videos that are real short and quick. They're just going to give them a little bit of instruction of how to solve the problems. After they watch the video, and some groups might have one video, some might have two. It just kind of depended on the videos I found for those activities. Then they're going to play the practice game online. They're going to practice that skill of what they just watched. Then after they've done that, they're going to take a short quiz. If they've done all 3 of these things and they finish, then they can play on Zern for additional practice. Okay, and then again, I just once again reminded them that they can use whatever manipulatives that they need during the quiz. If they need it for the practice, they can use that. So again, they can leave this up in case they forgot, but the first thing they're going to do is watch the review video. So when I go back on this one, this group is doing combinations of 10. So they're going to click on the video first. I'm just going to click on it so you can see it. I'm not going to play the whole thing. So this video is just a very quick instructional song that's the combinations of 10. That way the kiddos can see one more time what are the different numbers to make 10. Excuse me. Yep. Okay, so they'll watch this short little video, okay, and then they will go back and then they will play the game. So most of the games I have is just linked straight to that one game, so they won't have to do any searching of what game they're going to find. I wanted it to be quick and easy, that way they know when they get on, that's the game they're going to play. So with this one, once again, it's going to follow that skill. So they're doing combinations of 10, so the game they're going to play is going to be combinations of 10. So in this one, it says count the ladybugs, how many will you need to make 10. So they'll go through, there's quite a lot of questions, they'll go through, it'll take them a while. Practice on their own. Once they finish that, then they will click on the quiz. The quizzes are all pretty short. There's only 10 questions for each quiz. So again, here's the combinations of 10. They're going to click take. The great thing about Edmodo is that it grades the quizzes for me, so I can see how they're doing if they miss questions. So they're going to click on the start quiz and they're going to take the quiz. Afterwards, once they've done all those things, now they can play on Zern. If you haven't heard of Zern before, it's just a great Engage New York website that the students can log in. And again, they already have logins. They put in their name, they sign in, and then it's just more practice for them to do. It follows along with the math that we're doing in class, or I can always set them up with different activities, and then they just continue practicing. So it's a great tool for them to use, and it's also something for them if they do go through these and they have extra time before it's time to rotate. That way they're not just like sitting there waiting for the next thing or whatever. They have Zern that they can always do too once they've gone through it. So each group is all set up the same. They will all have a video to watch. They will all do something like, so let's say if I'm in group D, it's the same thing. They will watch their video. This group is doing subtracting with regrouping. So they're going to watch the video. They're going to practice online, play that game. Then they're going to take the quiz too, and then they get to play Zern. So I set it up very easy for all 4 of the groups. That way they're all similar. They understand what to do. They're going to practice that skill. Play the game, and do the quizzes. The quizzes are great because I get to create them, and I can see again how well they are doing, if they're being successful with it or not. And then I can always update it as we're going. I'll change the activities, however long it takes everyone in the group to be getting through them, and then every so often they'll get on and they'll be doing a different skill. So that's just the gist of how I would have my station rotations on here, and hopefully it's easy enough that my kiddos would know how to click and move on to the next activities of what they would be doing online. So, okay, there you have it.